I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023 Montgomery or Norristown Municipal Council meeting to order. Can I have a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, can I have roll call?
Rebecca Smith.
Here.
Rashaad Bates. Lauren Hughes.
Present.
Tiffani Hendley. Dustin Queenan.
Here.
Heather Lewis.
Here.
Thomas LaPera.
Here. Can I have a motion to approve the previous minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And nays? Ayes have it. Executive session announcement. We had an executive session tonight about litigation. We'll move into presentations in the Elmwood Park Zoo Centennial Prowl.
All right, I'll put him here. He'll do all the talking. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it. I know we've been in front of you guys a bunch with the master plan and what we have going on. I guess all the excitement over the last couple of years are building up to our 100th anniversary, which is also the 100th anniversary of Elmwood Park as well, which we're super excited about. Obviously, you know, we're in the ground on the multi-million-dollar vet hospital Why Zoos Matter exhibit, thanks to all of you guys, along with Benoni's office, and helping us get that across the finish line. We're really excited. And that exhibit itself opens for our 100th anniversary. Sir, you want, actually, if I come over here, can I control the slides? Yeah. Do you mind? Yeah, come up there. Part of the 100th anniversary is the master plan that we have been introducing. Just this guy?
Oh, sorry, keep the mouse. Sorry.
No problem. There it is. Very good. All right. So we've talked about this a ton. In 1996, the zoo and the municipality put together a plan to get the zoo across the creek for a large portion of land that was unusable for many. But what's exciting about this is a bike trail that will go in, and we'll talk about that in a moment as well. But across the creek is our North American expansion. We have not been to council yet in regards to what that plan looks like. I do know that there is some permit processes that have started on crossing the body of water here, which is the bridge. And I know there's some county work as well that's taking place further down the creek. But the Why Zoos Matter exhibit is going to be state of the art. This is going to be one of the best veterinary hospitals in the entire country. And it really talks about why zoos matter. You've heard me say this a few meetings ago, but a lot of times when you walk into zoos, zoos get stigmas of animals in cages. And I do believe it's important to talk about why Elmwood Park Zoo is different. There's about 30,000 animal collective establishments across the globe, but there are only 238 that are AZA accredited. That's the highest level of standard. I joke when I'm talking to a new donor and I tell them you would not go to a restaurant that's not inspected by the health department. You wouldn't want to do it. You do not want to support a zoo that is not AZA accredited. It's all about animal welfare, species survival, and education, right? What's exciting about this exhibit for us, though, is it gets to tell the consumer why the animals are here, why we're here as the staff, and why the consumer is there as well. The vet hospital, you will be able to look into the vet hospital. We will be using this vet hospital to be a training facility for the University of Penn. Much like zoos, there's not a lot of zoos that are AZA accredited. There's not a lot of vets that are studied in exotics. In fact, the numbers is rather low. Not only are these vets good for zoos, but they're also good for any wildlife, any Endangered Species Act, and so forth. The North American expansion is the project across the creek. This is the bridge. This is actually the style of bridge that we have selected as well. Alan Myers is helping us with the bridge to the other side of the creek. But you'll walk into something that will look a lot like our our national campaign for wildlife. You'll see cabin looks, a lot of signage, just like you would if you were to go to, let's say, the Grand Canyon and look at these bison roaming in the wild. You'll see them right up against the restaurant deck here, which is pretty exciting. This is another rendering. We will have a train that travels around the property as well for guests to enjoy. This is an overview of the footprint. A lot of the land across the creek, as much as we love the acreage, a lot of it is unusable because of how aggressive Stony Creek is. The Education Center will be where our guests come in at the south end of the zoo, and this is our classroom. Currently, the Education Center sits in the middle of the zoo. You know how Elmwood Park Zoo has grown over the last 11 years. However, our education classroom is still the same, holds about 20 kids at a time. This gives us a much more robust program. Asia, the tiger, we have announced a few years ago that the J.P. Mascara and Son has sponsored our tiger exhibit. This will be in the south end of the zoo. Dating myself back a few months ago when I came to present the net master plan, in order to build what we're building today, we had to move a lot of those animals from where they were. In order to build North America, we gotta have to move them across the creek so we can build North America, and then that allows us to build Asia, which is at the south end of the zoo. Again, a tiger exhibit which is funded here, but again, brings a new animal to Norristown, which we're super excited about. This is a little overview on Asia as well. Just high level there. Shows the parking expansion, shows maintenance, moving our maintenance facility, using an area in the zoo that's a little bit more useful. Now, why the Jaguar is in front of you? The Jaguar helps us celebrate our 100th anniversary. Our campaign is the Jaguar Proud. We are extending this throughout all of Montgomery County. We are looking for municipalities, we are looking for townships, we're looking for businesses to help sponsor the Jaguar program. I talked about the bike trail earlier. After these guys are done, this program launches now. We place these Jaguars in the spring of next year to celebrate the 100th anniversary. They will be at that location for 1 year, whether it's in front of the township building, whether it's in front of the King of Prussia Mall. I know West Norton just did one in front of their township building. After it's done, these Jaguars come back to Elmwood and they get placed on that bike trail that we're working with the county, and they will be there to show the different towns and how they supported Elmwood Park Zoo. You see in this picture here that ours is kind of fun there. It goes off the colors of the logo. However, the campaign will actually, we will work with Norristown to decide what the look looks like, and then we will work with Valley Forge Travel and Tourism and Monco Arts to hire a local artist to Norristown to show off Norristown spots. The whole program about the Prowl, each Jaguar, each spot is different from one Jaguar to another. Each town is different as well, right? So Norristown we can paint this however you want. We can add the city hall. We can add any of our sports programs. We can do anything we want on the Jaguar. It then gets sealed and it's put in place. It's super light. It's all made out of resin. It's very strong. They're all carved. They all look the same structure-wise. But again, the spots will all be different. The bases themselves are all based on the municipality. I'm going to go back to the previous slide. So you can see this one here that we use in our lobby. There's a QR code that talks about the Prowl. All of the Jaguars will then go through Monco Arts, which is this little logo here. I think you can see it in the corner there. There will be a website for them. People can find them. If they take their picture with it, they get discounts and different programs to the zoo. But the whole idea is to drive them to your town. You can put it outside of one of the restaurants or August Moon. It's all about driving people to Norristown, right? Driving people to different areas as well to collect them all in a photo, which gives them different things that they can redeem through the zoo. The bases, again, are different based on the requirements of the city. I know that is the actual size of the Jaguar. We're trying to keep the box height and the Jaguar under 4 feet for safety. We will handle all of the installations with the municipalities as to whatever they need or require. But the company that we hired that built it will also anchor the box. And then we will maintain it. We'll also remove it as well. Any questions? In front of you is the program. The sponsorship is $10,000 that goes towards it. We're looking at it as a marketing opportunity for the towns as well, which I think is important. And then we want to add, obviously, Norristown to the mix.
Think they can make one look like a tuna zap?
Tuna Zap?
Yeah.
I'm sure we can make it look like that. Who in the room loves the Tuna Zaps?
Everybody.
I'm just curious of the timeline for the construction, like is it 5 years, 10 years?
The overall construction?
Yeah.
So the overall construction is multi-phase. The whole program itself is based on about a 10-year program. The first phase that we're doing is 39,000 square feet, and that is completed in the spring of next year for the 100th anniversary, right? Directly behind that, we'll start moving some animals across the creek, obviously based on permitting and how that process goes. We'll start moving animals across the creek and building the other. But each individual phase, for instance, once we open up North America, which is super exciting because we're not impacting any consumers over there.
Right.
We'll be able to build that and keep the zoo in its current flow and footprint, and then open up, in a sense, a whole new world over there.
Right,
and then we
right.
can renovate what's inside the gates.
Nice.
Yeah. So the whole program, the bulk of the work we hope to get done in 5 years, but the whole program's 10-year program. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's about $150 million worth of construction. Phase 1, the building that we just got in the ground.
Now, I don't know what you're gonna look like after 10 years.
Phase 1 is coming in. It was, honestly, when we, and you're dealing with it at Norristown right now with your building, but phase 1 was $32 million when we started the design, and it ended up almost $41 million at the end of the day.
Wow.
So we had to go out and get a little bit more funding, but we were successful, and we're super psyched about
This
it.
is exciting.
Is there any other questions about the project, about this campaign? I know you've heard about the master plan a lot, and we do have some new faces, so I thought it would be nice to do a refresh on it. Any questions?
Looks good.
Very good. It's not something that needs to be funded immediately. It's something that can be built into the budget. Once we do get a commitment, it takes a little bit of time. We are commissioning every artist for every Jaguar. We do believe to support the arts. So every painter or whoever's handling it for the municipality will be getting paid through the zoo to do the work. We're not asking for that to be free. And we have a stipend for each painter that is the same throughout the entire campaign. But again, it gives us an opportunity to show Norristown spots.
Nice.
All right?
Love it.
Perfect. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And you get to wear the pin. The 100th anniversary pin is on the flyer there.
Already pinned.
There you go, Al. So, Council, if you want us
Public
to
comment.
do it, just take a vote at any time, whatever you want us to do.
With that, yeah, do I have a motion to approve a $10,000 sponsorship?
So moved.
Second.
Well, that's exciting.
Madam Secretary.
Yeah. We're gonna share it, like, you know what I mean, when you take the class animal
I
home?
didn't expect that.
Rebecca Smith.
I appreciate it.
Lauren Hughes.
Aye.
Dustin Queenan.
Aye.
Heather Lewis.
Aye.
Thomas LaPera.
Put
Aye.
that on my porch. Right, it's gonna be rotating.
Now you have to put it in front of E's, right, Tom?
We'll do.
Can we rotate on?
We'll talk as a group of what we want it to look like, I guess.
Yeah, you guys decide what you want to look like.
Figure it out.
then
And
we'll-
then
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Then we'll work with the artists. We'll start looking for the artists in Norristown. And if you guys have anybody you want to recommend, please recommend them to us as well. We'll help and work with you on the artists. You'll get to approve all the proofs and everything.
Cool.
And I think the location is gonna be key too,
you'll
because it's gonna
select that.
drive business
Yeah.
to, I mean, traffic to that particular.
We're not going to talk about this in every town, and Jen's probably going to kill me for this, but we can even work with you if you want to move it. We're not going to do that. We can't do that everywhere, but we will do that for Norristown. So think about that. All right? Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Don't kill him, Jan.
Madam Vice President, any announcements?
Yes, We have the Norristown Citywide Sweep Event this Saturday, May 6th, from 6 a.m. until dumpsters are full. The locations are Municipal Hall on Erie Street, there'll be 2 there, 2 on Halls Avenue and Marshall Street, 2 on Robert Street in Norris Hills, 2 on Arch and Oak, 3 at Pine and Fornance, 2 at Gardino Park, 1 at Halls in Washington, 1 at Corson and Marshall, and 1 at Buttonwood and Elm. Reminder, no contractor items, so they may be asking for ID to prove that you're a resident if your donations look shady.
I was just gonna ask, so they're monitored now?
Yes.
The second one worked a lot better.
Okay.
than the
Yeah,
I just remember that
it was
first
good.
one
That was
on
big.
Facebook.
And then we have a couple of events coming up. So there's a new organization called Systemic Reformative Change. They're focused on doing civic engagement with youth. They do some block cleanups and things like that in Philadelphia, interested in coming to Norristown. So they're going to be hosting a talent show at the Norristown Rec Center on May 20th from 2 to 6. So any youth, middle school, high school, that have a talent, want to come participate in the talent show. Prizes, DJ, food from 2 to 6 on that day.
What day was that?
May 20th is a Saturday. And then the Carver Center is hosting their Unity softball game at Eisenhower Science Leadership Technology School on July 3rd. I want to say all day. I'm not sure what the start times are, but you can contact the Carver to get that information. And then again, SRC will be hosting a 3-on-3 basketball tournament down at Oak Street Park or Simmons Park on June 17th. Registration for that, for your teams for 3-on-3. wearesrc.org is where you can get their contact information, or you can reach out to me and I can get you the registration information for that. I know we got Juneteenth coming up. Is that going to be on the 19th? 19th is a Monday.
We typically do it on the day
19th?
of.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that's going to be a Monday. So Juneteenth is a Monday this year, so we'll have a full day of activities that day. So you can contact Tracy Henry if you would like to be a vendor or sponsor or participate in Juneteenth that day. And that's all I have for announcements. Does council have any other announcements? Seeing none?
Thank you. Madam Secretary, are there any public comment?
Yes, Jim Waters.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mr.
evening.
Waters.
Hamilton Street, the wet end. I should have put some storm drains in down there. This is the Academy report. But first I need to talk about the Valley Forge chapter of Vietnam Veterans. 349 is up and running. They're meeting the third Thursday of each month at Jeffersonville Firehouse. Sherry Johnson started something up there in West Norton, and you know, the need to address this situation. As an Academy graduate, I picked out some spots that I would like to see if I can champion, kind of like Sherry did. And I used the Adopt a Spot program. And I had these put up because sometimes I talk until the cows come home and I get people fired over. Sean, I think this might be interesting for you. And Tom, you get it. And I think Crendel, I think you should get it too. Now, what this boils down to is I went out and I felt the most important thing that I could do to keep Norristown beautiful was to address the boarded up buildings. You know, I had issues back in '08 when we made the Shame on You Norristown video, and it kind of went down the same way, and it didn't seem to change. And what stunned me was there was a building there still boarded up. Then I started asking questions around, and I found somebody that was friends with the people that used to live there. So I calculated it's probably maybe a quarter of a century it's been boarded up. So it, you know, it didn't make much sense. But I thought what the team did for the, you know, the cleaning up the bike path, because originally we wanted to get involved with Keep Norristown Beautiful. That's why I used that logo, because that's kind of like what I want to do. So the biggest eyesore for the town I think, your town, my town, was the fact that these buildings detract from the appearance. So what I did is the same thing as the Keep Norristown Beautiful committee did. They wanted to clean up that area, and they found out the county owned it, so they couldn't do it, and they're looking for Norristown stuff. So I figured that what I would do is go around and look at these properties, take pictures of them, put them together. I found 14 of them, and then what I was going to do is go into the tax records and get the information about them and find out if there was a way of helping these people. You know, the bottom line was I ended up finding 4 that for some reason aren't on the records. And then it began, what? How does this happen? So that's kind of where we are. But understanding that the issue with the records has to do with the county, that's why your first page inside there has to do with a letter that went to the county's chief operating officer, addressing the particular situations that I see there that make me wonder if there's something that needs to be, you know, a higher level. Sean, that's why I gave it to you. So what I'm saying is the fact that if these properties aren't on the taxes and they're an eyesore to the community, and then you know, who's to say the landlords don't go in and reduce their taxes under the assessment appeal, which then it props the the property values down here, and it pushes them up on all the people that respect their properties, and East Norton and West Norton, because we're all part of this mix. But the idea that some of these properties possibly would have went into bankruptcy because of the overtaxation, because the state didn't tax things.
Thank you, Mr. Woodard.
Hey, not a problem. Now we get to go up and share this with West Norton. See you all later.
Thanks, Jim.
Hey, good job with those trees, or those poles there on Butler Street. I really hope you get the rest of them communication people signed up.
Hey, Mr. Woodard. Any other public comment? Seeing none, move on to Planning and Municipal Development, public hearing to consider the adoption of ordinance 23-02.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight, Council, I'll read into the record the information you'll need to know, of course, about the master plan, which we had brought to you before. But just want to make sure all the pertinent information is on the record. So, as you know, Norristown is in the cusp, or is in the midst of huge development, and we want to make sure that we have a more controlled process that is in place rather than a haphazard manner in doing a development, and that's why the master plan was introduced. So, as you're aware, the state hospital is one of the projects we're looking at, which we're trying to make sure.
This is a public, yeah, motion to open a public hearing.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I'm just going to go ahead and mark some exhibits. T1 will be a copy of the advertisement of this public hearing. T2 will be a copy of the master plan ordinance. And what we will do is we'll incorporate Ms. Massagne's testimony that was given beforehand. Obviously, after Ms. Massagne lays the groundwork of the reasons for the master plan, there'll be an opportunity for council questions or comment, opportunity for public comment, then council could either continue the hearing or close the hearing, and then on the agenda there is a spot for adoption of the ordinance. So, Ms. Massagne.
Thank you again. So as I was mentioning before, we had brought this matter to council and asked for permission to advertise the proposed master plan. Let me just go through what has occurred since then. The ordinance received authorization for advertisement on March the 21st. We advertised this ordinance on April 3rd, 2023 and April 10th, 2023. The Norristown Planning Commission reviewed and made its recommendation for approval to council on April 11th, 2023. The Montgomery County Planning Commission had an opportunity to review, and they sent the review letter on May 1st, 2023. They had comments pertaining to the conditional use, of which I discussed with the solicitor, and the issue was basically addressed. It's no longer an issue. But just want to touch on what the master plan does. As I mentioned, it's a more controlled process. This particular master plan is going to affect the following districts: the CR, which is the Commercial Retail District, Institutional District, RE Recreation District, GRO, which is the Gateway Redevelopment Overlay District, and the DR, which is the Downtown Riverfront. These are zoning districts. And it's for projects that are going to be 5 or more acres, so it's not going to affect the smaller infill type of developments. Just want to mention too that because of the impacts that this type of development can occur, in this ordinance, we've made sure that we will be requiring traffic impact study, recreation impact study, fiscal impact analysis, environmental and sustainability analysis, and historic resource impact study. All of these studies which we'll require will be borne by the developer. At least the municipality will be reimbursed when our professionals review those studies to make sure that they do not negatively impact any of those areas that I just mentioned. We've also made sure that in this process, the uses that are going to be considered in this master plan, or rather the master plan itself, is going to be considered as a conditional use, as opposed to the process of a special exception. This means when a developer brings a master plan, it will be brought to council for approval. Council will be acting as the zoning hearing board, so to speak. And that's the process which we'll take to council to approve a master plan. It can be amended within a year. Those provisions have been, rather after a year. Once a master plan has been adopted, it's good for 5 years, and it will still require other processes such as land development. So that does not negate the very important process of going through the land development, which means once you have council, you've seen a wonderful master plan, lays out all the vision. That's not the last time you're going to see it. Even if it's going to come in phases, you will see each phase not only through the land development approval, but in case there's a conflict or whatever the case is, it'll be brought to you for you to actually make a decision. But otherwise, this is a much more controlled process as opposed to what you saw in another project that we had to keep coming back and saying, well, maybe you want to phase this, or maybe you want to do that. This lays down the groundwork. And that's why we're bringing this to you. We believe we're preparing ourselves for the larger developments that will be more...
On bigger parcels.
Absolutely, on bigger parcels. And as you know, of course, we're setting ourselves ready for the state hospital. So tonight we're asking for your approval of that ordinance.
Council, any questions? I have one. You said that the master plan will be good for 5 years. Is there an opportunity for somebody to extend that past that? Because state hospital is probably going to take much longer, or are they going to keep?
It would be, so it's
restarting?
akin to a conditional use approval. So you'd have to come back to extend that approval like you would for a zoning or conditional use. That's how.
Okay, and then as long as nothing changed in the original master plan, they would.
Yeah, so for example, I represent West Whiteland Township in Chester County. They have a master plan ordinance, in fact, where I got this from. And there was a plan to redevelop the Exton Mall. And then that's changed. So now they're coming back before the Board of Supervisors for that, akin to this conditional use approval, so.
Gotcha. And it just streamlines the whole process, makes things a lot easier.
Correct.
Any other questions, council?
See if there's any public.
Any public comment?
Then I would suggest close the hearing, Mr. President.
I have a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
With that, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 23-02?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary.
Rebecca Smith.
Aye.
Lauren Hughes.
Aye.
Dustin Queenan.
Aye.
Heather Lewis.
Aye.
Thomas LaPera.
Aye, guys have it.
Thank you.
Chief, resolution 23-31.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Municipal Council. Before you this evening is Resolution 23-31, requesting Municipal Council approval for the sale of a 1995 ladder truck.
Council, any questions? That was it?
That's it.
This is just getting rid of one of the trucks that does not get used and is out of its useful life. as a part of why council approved the purchase of a new ladder truck. So we want to recoup some revenue for it.
Any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 23-31?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary.
Rebecca Smith.
Aye.
Lauren Hughes.
Aye.
Dustin Queenan.
Aye.
Heather Lewis.
Aye.
Thomas LaPara.
Aye, the ayes have it, resolution passes. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Building and Codes, the Historical Architectural Review Board. Mr. Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm here tonight to present the COAs presented by the HARB Board to you. As you know, the purpose is to approve, deny the Historical Board's applications that were received, reviewed, and recommended for approval on the HARB meeting of April of this year. And those properties that are being presented tonight for COAs, and I will tell you that if you have it in your package, there's a change in the addresses. 400 West Main has been eliminated, and we have 133 West Erie Street, 1230 West Erie Street, as well as, here we go, 120 West Marshall Street. Okay. Would you like me to review those, or are you okay? You guys?
No, they were all approved.
Yes, they were.
Council, any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the HARB Board of April 2023?
So moved. Second.
Madam Secretary.
Rebecca Smith.
Aye.
Lauren Hughes.
Aye.
Dustin Queenan.
Aye.
Heather Lewis.
Aye.
Thomas LaPara.
Aye, the ayes have it, motion passes, thank you. Finance, preliminary December 2022 financial results. Ms. Pfister.
You have these slides also in your packet. Just a few. Could you just wait? Okay, now these are just preliminary numbers for the general fund. They haven't been audited yet, but they're not going to change significantly that I can tell. But I just want to get you a heads up as to where we were as of year end. Okay, first we're going to go over the revenues. This is a summary of the main things. As you can see, real estate taxes and Act 511, they're our largest sources of revenue. And you see them in the graph. They're both 41% of our revenue. Now, one of the problems we've had in the past is the Act 511. When we get into a downturn, COVID, recession, whatever, we have to look again to real estate. Thankfully, this year, we had a good year for Act 511. As you can see, we were $2 million over budget for Act 511. Most of that was earned income tax. We were 1.4 million higher than budget in earned income tax, and we do expect that to continue into 2023, so that was a great thing. The next big thing in there was real estate transfer taxes. That was $600,000 high. That's more of a one-time only type thing, because there was especially a very large building that was sold that was about half of that payment. So we can't necessarily depend on that going into 2023. Public safety was down by $134,000, but most of that's going to be recouped by a reduction in expenses. For example, the timing of the Justice Center. Code Department had a lot of expenses in their budget to cover some of the fees that we would have collected. So they're just going to be offsetting expenses. So overall, we're $1.9 million high in revenue, which is, made me happy. Next, I have two slides for expenses. The first one's by department, and then I'll go over just by category. As you can see, every department was under budget, and our top two departments are police and fire, which make up more than half of our expenditures. Now, the more detail you can see is more in by category. But I do count. There we go. Okay, as you can see in this one, 76% of our expenses are all in salary, overtime, benefits, all people-related expenditures. We were low $1.1 million in salaries alone. I mean, it's a happy thing for expenditures, but bad because it was all staff related. And primarily code, police, and public works. Outside services, they were also low, and that again was an offset in revenue. That was offsetting some fees. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
And one last slide, this is our fund balance. Fund balance, you can see, this is more like a savings account for us. There's two purposes. One, to get us through the first few months of the year, until taxes start rolling in until March, and also to get us through the humps, COVID, recessions, any other major problems that we have. So this year, including our ARPA transfers, we are $4 million increase to our fund balance, and it brought us up to a 36% fund balance ratio. And as you may know, our bare minimum is 20%. And if we get above 30, I'm very happy. We were getting close. We were under, I think we were around 24% last year. So this is a good and bad thing. I mean, it was bad with the staffing, but it did get us that little help. Now, how this is going to help us, this will give us more flexibility when we get into budget season. We don't have to be as concerned or worried. We'll have a little bit of a buffer. We can decide if we get in a recession this year, that'll be able to cover us through if that happens. And if we can decide we have some extra cash, we want to put some into CIP and just have a buffer there. You know, we have some flexibility. So we have some money to be a little flexible or hold on to it for future years. So, okay.
Any questions?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, ratification of approval of waiver of noise ordinance for PECO.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council, as you know, you all agreed to allow PECO on April 27 to work late hours to take care of some emergency work. Those late hours were in violation of our noise ordinance, but council does have the ability to waive that. You gave me consensus to allow them to do that work, and this is just a ratification of that so that we can spread across a minute that it was council approved. You just need a vote.
Council, any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to ratify the approval?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Rebecca Smith.
Aye.
Lauren Hughes.
Aye.
Dustin Queenan.
Aye.
Heather Lewis.
Aye.
Thomas LaPera.
Aye. The ayes have it. And it's ratified. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.